don't know about you, I always like to. Sorry, that's a really good idea.
No, I'm going to put these in the order that you said. Sorry, everyone can see my arse now.
This is what happens when it happens in an active studio environment,
Yeah.
right?
Well, this shows that we're not professionals, you know, but we're trying our best. So you said Singleton.
Then we're going to go for Oban.
Oban, marvelous.
Beautiful. Mortlach, Tally. Oh, sorry, Mortlach,
Mortlach,
Tally.
Tally,
Lagavulin. Yeah, that's perfect.
Excellent. So everyone hopefully can see that order.
Da, 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 da.
There you go. Brilliant. So we'll I suppose we'll get started. And so normally we'd start with, I know you've been on, this is probably your third or fourth time with us, Charlotte, but for anyone who's joining, because obviously with the things like this special releases, we get a lot of new people who are interested. So do you want to give us a bit about yourself before we start?
Of course. Well, one, it's fantastic to be here. Thank you so much for having me in person. The first time we've ever done this, which I'm really pleased about. My name is Charlotte Barker. I'm a Malts Ambassador with Diageo. Simply means I get to talk and educate and maybe hopefully inspire, that's a lame thing to say, but inspire people about all 29 of our malt distilleries. Quite a few to get through in my head, but I love each of them equally like they are children. I promise you that. I don't have a favorite. I don't have, a naughty kid or anything like that. I love each of them equally. But what I really love doing is telling the stories behind the drams, about the people that make them, which is also why I really like working on this range, because I've worked quite closely with one of our master blenders, Dr. Stuart Morrison, who happens to be one of the best people to know and one of my favorite people to talk about as well.
Excellent.
I was about to launch into more about.
No, keep going. Yeah, I wasn't stopping you. I was just.
I think I'm a fangirl of him, unfortunately, and I'm so glad that he's never ever going to see this.
It is being recorded, actually.
No, nobody send it to him, please. Stuart has had either the fortune or the misfortune of getting to work with me since all my time in Diageo, and I promise you I'm very nice to him all the time. We have 12 master blenders within Diageo. A bit like the 12 apostles, but they also have like different areas to work on. And Stuart is, well, just before he had his child a year ago, he was working a lot on Talisker and was throughout all the Tally range, and then also doing a lot of stuff on Talisker 10. But they contacted him, maybe I shouldn't say this, but they asked him during this paternity leave to work on the special releases. So this is his first ever time working on them. Beforehand, it was a blender called Dr. Craig Wilson. He does a lot of the crumbs, what are they called? The beautiful casks that I can't ever remember, casks of distinction. So we've taken a little bit of a different turn this year with who's actually making them, which to me makes it really exciting.
Oh, excellent. And how long ago would that project have started in that case? Because obviously, I suppose we're obviously starting with the Singleton, so we may as well get that. Everyone's got that poured and knows. But my first question, as we kind of get into this, would be, special release, obviously our annual release, but how long in advance are the ones being, like, is 2023, does that planning of that start once the 2022 is finished, or is it longer than that? Or
pretty much once 2022 is finished. This was started, I think he came back from maternity leave last April. And he's already started on next year, and like I've heard all of the discussions of like what they're going to put in, but it's a long time ahead of planning, and to the case that usually they are ready to be put out in June, July. That's when they're first bottled. Just because they're cask strength, they need to be bottled just a little bit ahead of time. Don't actually know why that is. I never asked. He just said it had to happen, and I believed him because he's a very smart man.
There you go. Well, that could be something we could do some research on before we come on next year. 2024 special release. We'll have that answer
next time. Yes.
Excellent. So the bit, this is, see, I'm being totally thrown out of the whack by the fact that we're in person. So the bit that I've forgotten to do at the start is, for anyone who is joining us, do get your questions and your comments in, and your tasting notes. We do love to hear them, obviously. And Kirsty said that you're our favorite brand ambassador. So there you go. We'll agree. I totally agree with that, Kirsty. Always a pleasure to have Charlotte on. We also are, which is something actually I'm blindsiding you with, because we've got a few of these to give away tonight, which we often do with the Diageo ones. So anyone who kind of tags us, picture of your setup, your drams, tag us in at My W Club on any of the social media, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And we'll pick a couple of those and give away some bottles, and then we also have one for the best question and the best tasting notes. So do keep them coming in. So with that bit that I've obviously should have done a few minutes ago out the way, do you want to start? We'll start on the Singleton.
Yes, you're being very patient, my lovely team. Please crack on in if you haven't. Get your nose in this. Get your face in this. This one is the Singleton of Glendullan. I don't get to talk about Glendullan often, which is a shame. Small, we call it a little like craft. I'm putting it back, I don't know why. We call it like a little slow craft distiller. I mean, it's pretty sizable. It does a good amount of malt. But one of these, one of the original 7 distilleries that we see in Dufton, we will see it most often in Singleton used in the American markets. If you've ever come across Singleton in the Americas, it is going to be the Glendullan distillery. And the reason is, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go off into a little tangent.
No, work away, yeah. We'll nose away while we listen.
Please do nose, sip away. I'm so ready for those tasting notes and your thoughts. The very pure, very lovely idea about Singleton is that it's all based on people's palates and flavors and what is delicious to drink. So we feed 3 different distilleries into it. For the UK and Europe market and most of Africa, we deal with Dufton. For the Asian market, it's Glenord, more lighter grassy notes. And then when we come to Glendullan, it's a load of delicious spice, autumnal flavors, but a good amount of toffee. I don't want to put any stereotypes in that American idea that they have a sweet tooth, but it seems to be lending more towards that, which is why we tend to err towards that.
No, I think this is the first time I've ever had Glendullan, and I've tried lots of
Singleton
of the
Dufton one,
the main one, and we had Glenord on in a recent tasting, but I think I haven't tried Glendullan before, so it's interesting. Definitely get the spiciness and the kind of sweetness in there.
Can we do a cheers?
We can do a cheers.
Cheers.
It's it definitely has autumnal notes, like very Halloweeny.
Very Halloween. This is definitely pumpkin spice season, right? I recently had to do the GB launch for this, and I just gave them this most stupid tasting note. And I think since it was the first one I was bringing out, they probably thought a little bit, oh God, this is not going to go well. But do you remember those old Hanna-Barbera cartoons where?
Just about. Yeah.
I got the idea of it. It's like one of those apple pies cooling on a windowsill, and you can see the smell lines coming off of it. And I'm one of these cartoon characters just wafting in on it. For me, I really like this dram, and I really like to start off with it. It is really warming, but it's really bright as well. So I guess I should have given you a bit of an idea about what this year's special releases were about, but I'll go into that in a second. But I will say this has been finished in ex-Chardonnay de Bourgogne casks.
Sounds very fancy.
It does sound very fancy. And if
I'll actually bring the bottle up close.
Please do. I had to look up how to pronounce de Bourgogne, and it took a while to get around there. Beautiful bottle that is. But what we are getting is a lot of that crisp, all of the beautiful green apple and pear in here is just dialed up a notch. So it's almost like green, like very verdant grapes in there as well. There is a real there's a touch of sweetness, but it's really rich. And I think it's a really bright, delightful dram, and that's why it's the first dram as well.
No, it's certainly different. I won't even try to repeat that pronunciation of the cask. But this one is one of the ones that's what's the silken gown? It's inspired by the French beauty industry or something like that.
Exactly. So I'll give you the little bit of the inside, the spiel, if you will, about.
Yeah, let's see if we can get the image closer to the camera.
It's beautiful. And the boxes and the labels are beautiful. If you see them in even bigger, it's even more gorgeous. This year we have gone with a thing called Spirited Xchange, and it's that idea of exploration and discovery and what happens when we work with people around the world. And it's exactly what we've done for every bottle. So we have taken, I say, some of our well-known and best-loved and most interesting distilleries, and we've combined them with casks from expert craftspeople from around the world. And I think it's that showing off how well our distilleries and our liquid is, and how we can bring in different cultures within that. And we've gone beyond the whiskey. We've gone into collaborating with different artists for different bottles. So this artist is called Pierre Monet, known for Art Nouveau, Art Deco, and he has worked for, yes, French fashion houses and ateliers. And we gave them all, and you'll see it across the rest of them, we gave them all the tasting notes. I don't think they got any of the liquid, unfortunately, I know. But yeah, gave them all the tasting notes, and they created art just from the tasting notes and how they envisioned this whiskey to be.
No, it's brilliant. It must be a quick turnaround from the artist's point of view. If it was started last April and then it's bottled this July, it's kind of like yeah, it's a quick.
I always wonder about the creative process. How long does it take? But I guess how long is a piece of string? I think they've done wonderfully for it, and I think this one is beautiful and evocative. And I can talk about how the fluttering of the gown seems to match up with how this swoops and soars and the velvety, silky feel on our mouth. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful whiskey and a beautiful cover on it as well.
Very impressed by the mouthfeel, and there's something on the nose.
Yes.
That's really familiar, and I can't quite get it. It's almost like a tangerine note or something.
Yeah, I get that.
We've got some great taste notes coming in. Bananas, says Angela.
Nice.
Cooked bananas, Frank agrees. Autumn apples for sure. Definitely grassy, toasted, sugared almonds. Finishes warm, mild spice, peppery with sweet toffee finish. I'm certainly getting the caramelized sticky sugar from around the toffee apple with a hint of cinnamon. Warm toffee apple pies. Wow, this is very desserty, says James. Sweet spice, cinnamon, star anise. The nose reminds me of blue slushies you get at the seaside. I think I get what you mean. It's like the
blue raspberry ones.
Yeah, or maybe because I think I wouldn't gone specifically personally for the blue slushy, but maybe that's maybe that's the same kind of concept. It's almost like a Slero ice cream, or that does have that kind of exotic fruit flavored treats you get in the summer kind of vibe, like
miscellaneous fruit.
Yeah.
Both have the fruit, the tinned fruit, which is just everything all together.
Yeah, and as we go on, that's kind of coming out more, because at the start it was all that kind of autumnal spice and as we said, like toffee apples and that, and now the more it's there, it comes up with kind of almost like tinned peaches as well, like
I like that one. But it is quite sugary. It is quite sweet. This is definitely a sweetie dram. That is what Glendullan gives you.
Oh, marvelous. And Frank says well-mannered for the ABV, which I totally agree. It's 55%. So it's it's nothing to be scoffed at, but
not at all. It's not actually, it is the lightest one that we'll be tasting tonight as well, which is very interesting today.
We did have a question there as to where Glenord fits in. You said that was for the Asian market, was it?
Yeah, so we got it for the Asian market. Just as like I said, it's an understanding different profiles and what attracts different people around the world. Now, I don't quite understand where they got their data from. But it is that idea of Glenord. If you smell the new make, it's like sticking your head in the right end of a lawnmower, not the bad end. It's so bright and grassy and so green. And it's one of these liquids that seems to take on aging in any sort of cask extremely well. So I don't know if you tried the Singleton of Glenord from last year, the 15-year-old. Put into some delicious red wine casks towards the end, and it just sucked up all of that real fruity, dark, blackcurranty plum flavor, whilst being still very light and elegant. And it is for me, it's a really interesting distillate, and they seem to do absolutely like marvels with. Because we've got the 40-year-old out, it ages extremely well as well, which I think is incredible.
Have you tried the 40-year-old?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
It is very good. It is what you can imagine from a 40-year-old to be. It's very deep. Well, I say for this sort of 40-year-old, we've just chucked in some very delicious old casks. It's very rich. It's very plummy. It's very chocolatey. Touch of cacao nibs. I think it's a very good whiskey.
Nice. Worth the money.
No comment. I'm very lucky that I get to drink a lot of whiskey for my job.
Very good. Excellent. Well, maybe that would be a bonus question at the end. What was your favorite non-Diageo whiskey at the Whiskey Show London?
That's a good question.
We'll hold that one. Excellent. I don't know if anyone's got any more questions in on the Singleton. Kyle says definitely grassy, toasted sugar almonds, finishes warm, mild spice apples, peppery with a sweet toffee finish. I think I actually might have already done that.
Del Monte. Thank you. That was I'm thinking of the tin. Yeah, thank you. Oh, I no, I like the white chocolate chip cookies on hand. God damn, that sounds good.
No, that would be a good pairing, all right.
Whoever keeps saying like nuttiness in the chat and like maybe a bit of marzipan, totally there as well. It's a really good dram that keeps on giving. And I talk about Singleton of Dufton quite a lot for my job, and so I'm very used to that liquid. But having Glendullan now is really nice to be able to show off.
And speaking of the price of the 40-year-old, let's
I wonder if you put it on your website.
No, but I probably do, but I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I'm not gonna risk looking that up in case something goes horribly wrong in the zoom ins. But I was just going to confirm the price of this. So it's 132, the Singleton, for a 14-year-old that you can't normally get in this market. But that kind of cask finish is actually not bad. I think. Let's see what it is after the discount. You get it for £112.20 when you get the W Club discount at the end. So
that's not bad.
It's not bad.
I know I'm saying that about my own whiskies, but I don't think that's bad at all. I really like this whiskey.
Does it beat the Diageo staff price? Does it? You don't have to answer that.
I've had to order a lot of these bottles in for the whiskey show. There have been some that have been mislaid. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, well, that's on record now, you know.
Heck of the job. Let's put it like this.
No, perfect, 100%. So we'll see if anyone's said anything else, and if not, we might slowly come on to the next one. I've lost the chat here now with all my trying to be clever and check the prices.
It's okay. I think you're very doing two screens, to be fair.
Yeah, well, we tried, but it's actually technically three. This one behind us.
That's very true.
Yeah, just waiting for something embarrassing to come up on the screen behind. Like
you've tempted fate.
No, it's I'm like an altar boy, like that's me. So what have you? We're on the Oban next.
Oban, very nice, and a very nice segue across to Oban. Oh God, sorry, I've been very good in pouring them out already. I'll pop this up on here. Oban, every time I talk about it, it seems to be one of these distilleries that people absolutely adore. Before I got into whiskey, I didn't really know it. I don't remember because I wasn't in whiskey properly, but I didn't really know much about Oban. But it is this tiny or tiny-ish small distillery on the western coast of Scotland. If you haven't been, I absolutely implore you to go because I think it is.
My attempts to raise it up has not really worked.
I like that. It's a nice play. Very nice, That's better. Gorgeous. Good. I think that's pretty good.
It'll work. It'll do the job.
That's very good. On to Oban. I'm in love with the distillery. It's small because it was just very purpose built. It was built such a long time ago at the end of the 18th century, and the town grew up around it. And if you've ever visited, have you visited?
I've been to Oban, yeah.
Yeah.
To the town, it's beautiful, and it really feels like the kind of gateway. With all the get a boat out to Islay or wherever. Like it's a real hub of activity. Like
it is. It's like a jumping off spot. You can see Mull across from the water as well, which is one of my goals eventually to go see. And it is one of these distilleries where we run out of liquid because we don't want to essentially ruin the liquid. Everything we get from here is very slow and low. So our fermentation times are, I say, long, but medium long compared to more growing long standards now. But also our distillation is really long and low and slow. And the reason is because we want to really enhance all of these beautiful citrusy orange notes, the fruity notes that are in Oban. But because we use worm tubs, we don't want we want it to go so slow that it just pulls away the sulfur gently off, not make it a real meaty number like Mortlach in a second. But it's also that beautiful coastal feel to it as well. I don't know if it's just a romanticism about being next to the seaside and about being on the coast that gives it this coastal touch of salty vibe. But there is a load of, for me, orange oils in here, which are only enhanced by the cask, that go big and bright and vibrant. So we've put these in ex-Caribbean pot still rum casks. That's a mouthful to say, even after one whiskey. And it just seems to brighten everything up.
No, it's an incredible nose, yeah. Kirsty's already got salted caramel on the nose.
Yes.
Reverend Kevin Wright's got Oban's giving me a nose of something really autumn fruity, perhaps pear along with a damp grass pine needleness, some tangy citrus and spice, maybe cloves. Scott says very caramel, hint of rum, raisin, ice cream, banoffee, toffee. Brings back lovely memories of being in Oban with my dear old late dad. And that is actually comes up every now and then in these tastings. Those kind of the ways that flavors can evoke memories like that is one of the reasons why I think a lot of us on the call love it. Kirsty says tropical fruit reminds me lying in the hammock under a palm tree. I mean, it definitely invokes that for me. Can't say I've ever done it, but we also have a question there about the artwork, and if you go more into who produced these, it's a beautiful artwork. I mean, the name has reminded me of Calypso Ice Lolly, which is, I'm sure, one of those suggestive tasting notes rather than an actual tasting note. But that's what my brain's getting. But could you go into more about the artists who designed these again?
Sorry, I don't want to take my breath away. This has been designed by an artist called, Kim Thompson. She's based out of Nottingham, and we actually got her down to do live painting during the show this year, which was actually quite a lot of fun.
During the whiskey show in London?
During the whiskey show. So she was painting a bit of feel of what everybody was saying and a bit of picking up and tasting notes, which I think was a really lovely extra level. Kim is this fantastic artist, at least I think so, because I've been following her Instagram for quite a while now. And she works along the idea of retro nostalgia, a lot of Afrofuturism, a bit of folklore paid in there, but all of these really bright, vibrant colours, like highly saturated colours all the time. And she seems to bring in a lot of female figures. If you ever see the rest of her work, they're all very much about identity empowerment, and bringing in the idea of solar calypso. Her family's from the Windrush generation, and bringing back that tie of moving over from the Caribbean. I don't know which place in the Caribbean, and we unfortunately can't say which area of the Caribbean this comes from, but bringing back those ideas of linking back to her childhood and her heritage of a family like this. And I genuinely adore this artwork here. I think it's so bright and vibrant. And like I said, we've given them the tasting notes, and they have made, each artist has obviously put their own individual stamp on it. But this is so bright and vibrant. You can see why. These were only named after we got the artwork back. So this is why it's called Solar Calypso. It is so big and bubbly, and you can have that. I know we've got a party atmosphere on here, but there's a load of big, vibrant, bright flavors going on. It's really, I don't want to say bubbly, I don't want to say effervescent. It just really dances on your tongue, right?
100%. Both of these have really like reflected the artwork, and the flavor has gone together hand in hand really well. And again, same with the Singleton. The mouthfeel on this is incredible. Like
it is
brilliant. The way the oil kind of hangs and the flavor on the side of the tongue, it's brilliant.
But there's a bit of pepperiness in there as well, and that is from, like I said, from the worm clouds. We still got that hint in there, but it's that ABV does prickle it up, but it brings such a balance to the whiskey as well. It's not, again, one dimensional. It's bringing you all that fruitiness, a load of big. I really struggle getting coconut in tasting notes ever, but I get coconut off of this, so I'm really excited about that. Such big flavors.
It's really like juicy, or kind of acidic in the good way, in the way that it gets the gums kind of really watering. 100%. You got a few more great taste notes in there. It has lovely legs, and very rounded and welcoming, warm and bright. Like others, it's fairy cake straight out of the oven. Interesting. No,
that's a really good tasting note.
And Kevin says this is more complex in the tongue. I'm not getting citrus, but not just orange, almost fresh grapefruit. Andrew says yes, the artwork really enhances the bottle's appeal, especially for a present. 100%. It's a great gift. Really spicy finish compared to the Singleton. Totally got the salted caramel first on the nose, then fruitier, peaches and crimson. More spice in the palate. Juicy fruit, chewing gum, orange and ginger on the palate. Some fantastic taste.
I love that. I love the because ginger is that thing that you feel the spice as well when you go for it. It has got that trickle of spice. And also I think I have mentioned Hubba Bubba and one of my tasting notes for this as well, so I totally get it. Yes.
Definitely. Frank says maritime notes next to a harbour, and we got sweet orange on a rainy day. It always rains in Oban. 100%. Where's it's not matured in Oban though, is it? The casks.
It is not matured in Oban, so it depends what sort of. We only have one of the whiskies, which unfortunately isn't here, which is matured on on distillery side, and that's the Glenkinchie. The casks are usually brought to Canvas, if you know it, about an hour.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I'm always used to doing Edinburgh, so I don't know where it is in relation to Glasgow. An hour west of Edinburgh, which is essentially just a massive site. You can drive 10 minutes in a golf buggy in one direction. You'll still be going past barrels and warehouses. It's really fantastic and a bit scary how much liquid is on site and how stringent they are with making sure you're not having any Apple Watches or mobile phones or anything nearby, because that will go up. The only time I've been there, we were waiting outside in the rain for half an hour because there was an actual fire alarm going off, and spooky,
that would be a disaster.
Yes, that wouldn't be good,
because it's a crazy percentage of like the entire back stocks of Scotch whiskey as a percentage is there. Like, I don't know if you know, but yeah,
half.
Yeah.
Yes, the Scotch whiskey.
It's a lot of whiskey.
But we do share it amongst other distilleries as well. So if you go into any distillery and you're doing a maturation tour, you will see ones from other distilleries, and often you'll see ones from distilleries that aren't even ours as well. It's the idea of sharing is caring. So if something does happen, oh dear God. But there is always so much research going on behind the scenes. What happens if you do mature it in different warehouses? I know we haven't got the Glenkinchie, but one of the big things about this year's Glenkinchie is that the warehouses are so cold, as in it'll be colder inside in winter than outside, and that leads to a very damp and dark atmosphere, which means that the angel share just doesn't drop as much. So we do a lot of different things like that behind the scenes.
And it's how like microclimates where these warehouses are make a huge difference. Yeah. So spreading out the maturation does, kind of give it a variety. It's one of the many factors. People try and, we did a Waterford tasting and they were saying, oh, the terroir is underrated, and people say, oh, it's the cask, and others, it's the liquid, it's the still, but it's all those things.
It is all those things.
And they're all equally as important. The Paula says Hamden casks has similar characteristics to their 8-year-old. I'm not aware of that one, but
I do know that one, because I think it's for me that one is quite licorice as well. Maybe you do get a little bit of licorice in the end, but honestly, I wouldn't be able to. They wouldn't tell me, even if they wouldn't. I mean, I'm not going to be told, because it's like certain degrees of secretness.
You don't have that clearance,
I literally don't have that security pass.
Yeah.
Someday, team.
Yeah, maybe one day.
No, I say too much weird, bad stuff on these sort of things.
You'll be moments away from the promotion, and they'll watch back this video and they'll be like, nah, that not happening.
I don't buy the 40-year-old. I can't believe it. How dare she?
So yeah, James says not in tonight's tasting, which is a shame, because I would like to hear more about the Roseisle bottling and distillery. We actually have some news on that. I mean, you're more than welcome to talk about it, but I'm sure some of you have seen on the website that because we have a very limited amount of the Roseisle, purchases of like these ones tonight, including with the discount, and the rest of the kind of special release range gives you an opportunity to get the chance to buy the Roseisle. So it's kind of like a sale-driven ballot type thing. So because it is selling out really fast everywhere, and we didn't have a dozen. I'm not sure even how much. Do you want to start with how much of it is available, and then maybe tell us a bit about it before we move on from the Oban?
Genuinely, I don't. I see I see allocations, so I see like how much you guys are getting, but I don't know what it is in terms of actual across the world volumes. That is not what I ever get to see. I do know that Stuart has been complaining about that maybe they were a bit short-sighted about the fact that we're launching a new distillery and they didn't put enough of it out. And I can kind of get that, because from a whiskey person perspective, I buy new distilleries. Like I snap up the first releases because I'm always really interested, bottle to keep obviously, and then bottle to drink, and see what's going to happen with it. Roseisle, oh my goodness, I'm genuinely really excited to be on this project and talking about it, because I think Roseisle is super cool, and the idea that we're seeing this is the first distillery that Diageo has opened since 1974, and that was off Croix. Wow. So this is like a real big thing in our own internal history. Roseisle, when it came on stream back in 2009, became our largest distillery, putting out about 11 million litres of pure alcohol. And the reason that we created it in the first place is that people were drinking a lot of single malts, which is a great thing, but there wasn't enough to be going into our blends. So the idea is that we are creating something which, well, it's massive. It's a cathedral to whiskey, but it's also very much a chameleon. For those of you that are
great rapper.
I'm gonna. That's gonna be my stage thing going on now. I mean, worst rap in the world.
They see me rolling.
I think it's so interesting what it produces, the idea behind it. It's very ecologically minded. We keep everything very much in house and have our own maltings there on site. It's one of the only 3 distilleries in Scotland that produces enough malt for all of its whiskey, which is fantastic. We play around with a lot of different things. So we can play around with our fermentation times, of course, like a lot of distilleries do, but we do it to get specific flavors, whether they're going to be clear or cloudy, to get different flavors out of that. All of the stills are just normal little, like they look like gnome mushrooms, like garden gnome mushrooms, but lantern stills. How quick we're gonna, and how quick and how fiery we're gonna push them through the stills, and then we can change between I say normal shell and tube condensers, which are made out of copper, or stainless steel. And what it just means about stainless steel is that we can essentially accentuate all of those really chewy, meaty, sulfurous flavors. So by doing that, we choose what sort of whiskey we're going to make. And in Diageo speak, we use terms like light and grassy, really fresh and fruity, big and nutty, and can go all around them. We haven't done peated whiskey yet. It has the capacity to. But it's that idea of once you put peat through stills, it rubs off. It's got a bit of a taint always in it. So trying to work out what happens after that. So the Roseisle of this year will never be the same Roseisle again. And we've gone for a big hit of big fresh fruitiness. So a load of plumminess in there, maybe a bit of dried figs, and a bit of peachy in there. Then we go into light and fresh grassy, some really high notes on there. But then nuttiness at the end, like toasted pecans, a bit creamy, a bit like, well, the notes are creme anglaise, but I say custard. So I grew up in Somerset, so if you ever hear like a Somerset guy, when my dad's saying creme anglaise, it just kind of ruins it for you. But it is one of those drams I think is genuinely very impressive. I'm so intrigued by it, and I do think it's a good whiskey.
No, excellent.
Sorry, I know
the one whiskey that we don't have on here, and I really want to try it.
I will make sure that you try it.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah,
I promise you.
Send us a sample. Brilliant.
Oh, naturally, no, I will do. I promise you that.
Well, there you
sorry,
go. This is perks of the job. That's brilliant. We've got Kirsty's already on to the Mortlach, which is very very fair. I would have done the same if I was listening to us. So Mortlach 4 seasons, this is what Kirsty says, 4 seasons 1 dram, fresh mown grass, summer fruits, pumpkin spice and marzipan, and Christmas spice, clove-studded oranges, mince pies with background of old oak and leather, old library. Another fantastic tasting note. James said, is that offering just for Luke, or for all of us to taste the Roseisle? We'll see. We'll see how much liquid we get, and we can maybe sort out something for our top W clubbers. You're way ahead of me there on that. The Mortlach box is always amazed me. Last year's one with the owl on it was it last year the owl on it?
Yeah, it was
stunning.
It is always
release.
Gorgeous. And they're always blooming hefty. I'll tell you what, you won't want to carry a case of that around in your back.
No, I'm not sure if on screen.
So just a little bit on the artwork. I think in the office it's been and throughout this project it's probably been our favorite piece of art that we've seen. The artist is called Kuzu Sakai, based in Japan, and it's just phenomenal. I think it's just he combines the fantastic and the realistic together, which kind of is this dram. It is a bit fantastical, but it's that real darkness to it, the chewiness that you always get from Mortlach, and you might not be able to tell from the screen, but I always like this a beautiful texture and this color here, which is all that the tingling from the peppery sulfuriness again.
No, it really works, and it really, I mean, I know it's the original this is going to sound really nerdy, but the original Star Wars had a real kind of Eastern influence, which it was often criticized for, the kind of Orientalism of the kind of the stuff. But this has got that kind of that kind of vibe, you know.
You could just replace it with a lightsaber.
Yeah, like well, that's the lightsaber, but even not even just. I mean, that definitely, but also the kind of the tones of the kind of navy and dark, like, you know. But it's a beautiful bottle, yeah. And yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, the Death Star in the background, exactly. Yeah, about to wipe out the planet. That was always one of the things that annoyed me about Star Wars, is that when Obi-Wan dies, which is a terrible moment, Luke is like gutted, and Princess Leia's just had her entire home planet blown up, and she's there like comforting him, sorry your friend died, you know. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. But
so, I like the way that's what you pick out. It's like, this is the wrong way around. God damn it.
You know, she should be in bits. Well, this is Kirsty's got the good joke in there. Luke, I'm your father. This is maybe why I have a fascination with. I'm actually not that big into Star Wars, but when you get called Luke Skywalker your entire life, you have to know something about the series.
My first boyfriend was named Luke after Luke Skywalker.
Named actually literally after Luke Skywalker. Yeah. I mean, I always think I was named after the Evangelist. So, but maybe it was all a lie. Maybe it really was the Star Wars as well.
Maybe a real soft spot for it.
Yeah, I mean, no, that makes it look. It's a good name, Luke. You know. So we've got some. James has said before the owl, a 13-year-old with a fabulous howling wolf. Yeah, that was a stunning one as well.
Yeah.
Kirsty says it's not quite as waxy as the old floral and fauna Mortlach. I kind of miss it. Reverend Kim writes down with Kirsty, it's got so much sweet fruit like melon, but some nostalgic musty leather like a primary school satchel. It's taking me back somewhere nice from my childhood. What age is the Mortlach is one of the questions.
Definitely a big question. Non-age statement again this year. So we saw the last one, the owl one, non-age statement. Again, decided to go for a non-age statement, and this year we've gone for 2 bottles which are non-age statement, which is more than we've done beforehand. And all the time that we have this question, because we were talking beforehand, I was saying about this came up a lot in masterclass over the whiskey show. And so it's always the idea of we're talking about the flavor more than anything. And I'm more than certain that's probably because they've put something quite young in there to just balance out the flavor. But we're talking about the idea that we don't want it to define it at the same time. And I kind of get it. In this Mortlach, we've done something that we've never done before as well, not just with any Mortlach, but with any of our whiskey distilleries. We have put it into ex-Kanasuke distillery casks as well. So we are working with a partner in Japan. Do you know Kanasuke distillery? Quite newish, but
I think only just after COVID, I think I tried their stuff for the first time.
Yeah, but it's not been out that long.
I feel like I picked it up in Paris in the Maison de Whisky or something. Yeah,
no, I think that's where it honestly first came on in. Diageo also has like little ventures off. It's a bit like incubator brands called Distill Ventures, and we just supply funding, marketing links, and it's a very lovely it is a genuine cultural exchange and like information exchange with these distilleries. We also work with Starward, Oxford Artisan Distillery, crumbs. I'm missing what Stowning as well. So we have really lovely ties, and Kanasuke is one of them. They've been, I think, distilling shochu for 130, 140 odd years. So they are masters at their craft. And with a lot of their whiskey, they're aging it in these old shochu barrels as well, which I think is quite fantastic. In this case, it is not. It's an ex-American oak that they've been using, but because it's on the main island of Japan, it's going to still have that. It's a more temperate climate, so it's going to have that kind of almost Kentucky vibes to the whiskey anyway. And we're also using ex-Pinot Noir casks, not trying to say that's having a lesser impact. I just think that using Kanasuke is fantastic and really interesting. And I think the idea is that we are talking about flavor more than anything, because like I said, I don't know what effects these barrels had on this whiskey. I'm never going to be told that again. And I love the idea that we are talking about the flavor. For me, whoever said melon, I get a lot of that in here.
Yeah,
it's real fun and funky.
It's got that kind of sweet and savory, and then the dryness of a good melon as well, which, you know, kind of as in terms of the back of the palate rather than the literal dryness. But Melon and peach on the palate with a slightly savoury note, says Ian. Love the spice in the finish. Works incredibly well with honey and whiskey, white chocolate truffle. God, the food pairings tonight.
Oh, we should have brought some snacks.
Yeah, I totally dropped the ball. I think there is a thing of gummy bears over there, but I don't think it will pair quite as well.
Chocolate in the bag, don't we?
Okay, yeah, we'll figure something out. The Reverend Kevin White says it may not have an age statement, but it's got a full mature taste. Wow, we'll see a special release will we see a special release in ex-stawning casks that would add an awesome note?
That would add an awesome note. I don't know if you've tried the peated one. Yeah,
I haven't. No.
Chef's kiss, delicious. They're doing some amazing stuff.
Yeah,
like genuinely.
We've got I think actually I was talking to Kirsty about this where we've got a tasting coming up with them, but it won't be till I think the new year, January sometime. So
you'll have an amazing time,
yeah. So everyone watching, one to watch out for.
Is that going to be with Ali?
It would be with Annie, yeah, your former colleague, yeah. It was actually he got in touch after he started there because he's done these digital drams with us with Diageo and was like, oh, we'd love to do one with Stawning. So yeah, but unfortunately our calendar between now and Christmas was kind of booked up early in the year. So we are very well, especially in that run up, October, November. Everyone wants digital drams tasting there with Christmas coming up, but no one wants to do it in March. But there you go. So I'm really getting chocolatey and sumptuous malty notes, reminding me of Ovaltine. What's Ovaltine?
Oh, sorry, Ovaltine. Beg your pardon.
Ovaltine.
So no, sorry. It's Horlicks.
Horlicks. Well, there you go.
Big, beautiful malty note. I've never actually had any hot Ovaltine, or maybe it is Ovaltine, or like Horlicks, but I chuck it in like a milkshake every now and again. Make it beautiful. Yeah.
Not something I've
banana milkshake with a load of malt in it.
Oh, well, there you go. That's me showing my foreignness.
Please go buy a pot of Horlicks now. Be playing around with scoops. It looks like weird protein powder, so pop it in.
Excellent.
Do you mind if I just say one note about this? Because I think the sweetness works so well in this. I really do. And Mortlach is genuinely really fruity coming off the stills. When we put it into sherry, like with the classic 16-year-old, that's when we're bringing out so much more of those chewy notes. I think this is a really lovely fruity dram. I was impressed with it. And it also has a beautiful fattiness to it that reminds me a bit like how Talisker turns out. It's a bit like and I'm sorry, vegetarians out there, but like you've rendered a really perfectly fatty bit of steak and you're cutting into it like it's the most gummy, melt in your mouth fat in the world. That's what it just reminds me of.
Oh, no, well, it's you're really selling it. No, it's a gorgeous whiskey. All three of them actually so far have been fantastic. It doesn't have the 2.64 distilled on it, or what? Is it 2.64? What's the number?
It's 2.81.
2.81.
Yeah, so very hard to talk about without getting. I've done it with a twister mat before.
As in, like with the colors and okay, interesting.
It just ends up everybody falling over themselves, and you'd never really know what happens. But that's the beauty of it. You never know what happens. But it is 2.81 times distilled. It's very weird. It's very peculiar. Have you ever seen inside Mortlach before?
I've not been to Mortlach, no.
I've only been. They only begrudgingly let me in because I had a friend. One of my other distillery manager friends managed to like literally elbow me in there. It's beautiful, and I really hope that they open it up because I think it's fantastic to see. But when you get into the area of the stills room, it looks like so higgledy-piggledy, like they've gotten all of these from like a junkyard and they've just like stuck them all together because they're all every single one of them is a different shape and size. And I know we always say that 2.81 it's the way from going back to Star Wars.
But there you go, back to Star Wars.
Everything links back. Oh my god, Mortlach is Star Wars bottle. We always say it's the way, but I think they just like they found something and they found it worked and they're not going to question it. And somebody's come in and said the maths afterwards and they're like, yes, this is what we were supposed to do. It's so weird and bizarre, but I don't know, I wouldn't have her any other way.
No, it's great. I have a soft spot for Mortlach, and it does it like it's. I think it goes through. I feel like since I've been in the industry, it's gone through kind of so many different phases and kind of repositionings. But it's a great whiskey. So yeah, and what we've learned from doing this Mortlach is clearly that the next kind of succession to the Game of Thrones release, which I presume actually I don't know this for a fact, but I imagine it's inspired in part by the special release range, that whole idea.
Yes.
It's got to be a Star Wars one.
We've got to do it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, which one would be the Mandalorian?
I feel like you'd want to do is, instead of doing them after series, you would do them after like maybe planets or systems. You know, you could have like the hard to get one could be the Alderon one, you know, the one that doesn't exist anymore. Or that could be from a closed distillery.
RIP right there. Oh God, I love that idea. I want this to happen badly right now.
Well, folks, if you tweet enough, it might happen, you know. Chris says, I've got sharp elbows. Can we have a club visit? Yeah, we could definitely work something out. I mean, we do have, as I'm sure most of you on the call are aware, most of the Diageo brand homes, if not all of them, get W Club members get 20% off a visit. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. So obviously
my visitors don't get 20% off.
Really? Well, there you go. Get them to join the W Club. So yeah, they definitely worth looking at. As David said, Alderon equals closed distilleries. I was trying to think of, because obviously Rora or one of these, but it's reopening, and Port Ellen. So
close. We'd have to pull on stocks of Glenmary or something.
Yeah. And obviously Tatooine would be the whiskey that has the biggest release in the range, because every Star Wars is just set on Tatooine.
Of course, I love that.
But the long finish in the Mortlach licorice. We've got Talisker here transports me straight to the rugged coast of Scotland. Lovely hints of smoke and dark chocolate. So that is you're following along perfectly, Andrew. So I'll get my Talisker poured here.
I adore it. I'm sorry, I'm a big sucker for Tally.
No, Talisker has always been one of my favorites as well.
I don't have favorite kids, I promise you that. I just had soft spots for some of them. But do you ever get it? So I get asked quite a lot what my favorite whiskey is.
Yeah.
And I genuinely don't have one. I really like trying new whiskies. I really like trying everything because I want to see what's out there. I want to explore. But nobody likes an answer. So I usually just say Tally 10 because it is one that you can keep going back to. It hits all the points of like fruity, vanilla. It's got that pepperiness. It's got the great amount of peat. And so I've just got that's my sitting by the sofa dram.
And any decent bar would have it as well, which is that's what I base my. You can't. There's too many whiskies in the world, and in the industry, you get to try so many unique and interesting ones that are really expensive or are no longer in production. But so I always go for ones. What's your favorite whiskey? It's the one that if I go to my local, it's going to be sitting on the bar. So that's why I always say like a Redbreast 12, because it's probably not my favorite whiskey in terms of all time, but it's the one that if I'm having a few drinks, I know it's going to be behind the bar. You go for it. It's a decent price point. And I can see how Talisker would be that as well. 100%.
You're going to have a great time.
Lagavulin is that for me as well.
100%.
Depending if you're looking for something more peated, it's definitely a go-to. So not crazy money in most bars. What are you going to do? Good for a half and half.
I think it's a good idea. It is.
Just while we're on that, I'm just going to go back to some of the prices here, because we've had the Oban was £140. Obviously, you get the 15% off that as well. The Singleton we've already done that one, but I'll remind you, it's 132. What is the other one I'm missing? The Mortlach. Mortlach is 250, so that is the more expensive of them. But that means you get the biggest discount on it. And then we are now on the Talisker, which is 120. So yeah, coming back down on the price point range.
Coming back down. Like I say, I adore Tally. It was also the distillery that I was supposed to be focused on when I start this role. I
think that was your first tasting with us.
It was. Yeah. I think I've been very a nervous. Where was I? I think I was. I remember just sitting on the sofa, on the floor, where I've now done all of my tastings with like my bookcase in the background, and I think remember the light fading, so I was just lit by the screen at the end. But I was having such a great time with it. I adore Talisker. Did we been to Skye?
I've never been to Skye. No.
Okay, no. Maybe we should go on a team trip to Skye instead.
That would be good, yeah.
Because I think that one's the one to see.
Get some W Club members along, because that is one of the discounted visits to distilleries anyway, Talisker as well. So
it is. I think it's I think it's glorious, and so when I've been talking about the artwork for this, it very much links. It makes me think about my only time that I ever visited the distillery, because it's all very much about for me the journey was so much part of it, is that excitement and expectation, because I got a train up to Glasgow, and then I drove from Glasgow to Oban, and then I had a pit stop off at Fort William KFC car park for a nap, wouldn't advise it, but needs must. And then driving to Skye that night, and then finally waking up and being able to see the distillery. It was genuinely, it was an odyssey to get there, trials and tribulations. But the distillery was the reward at the end, and these whiskies and this sense of place was their reward at the end. And it's unlike any other place I've been. I think I'm sure like Iceland compares. It's very, very stark and volcanic almost, and these mountains just like flower over you. It's fantastic. But truly stunning. Like, yeah, it's taken my heart.
No, I must definitely go. It's on the bucket list with Iceland. One of my best friend. He's now working in the University of Reykjavik, and he's constantly like, come over, and I'm like, oh yeah, but it's just such an expensive.
I know, but also if he can put you up for the night.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's the free accommodation at the end. That's handy. Right? Yeah. No, Talisker is Skye is definitely somewhere. I've actually got a cousin called Skye, named after the island. So yeah. It's where her parents honeymooned, I think. But yeah, beautiful name. I'm sure it's a beautiful place. I'm very jealous of you going. So it's definitely one to arrange. Let's see what's being said here. It's all popping off in the chat. Wow. Yes, Skye is lovely, says Andrew. Fruity, creamy smoke with slightly salty background. Wood burns on a cold night. I definitely get that. It's got the kind of what are they called? Swedish candles? The ones that the logs that they're split open, you burn them in the middle.
Yeah, they're all like aromatic almost.
Yeah, but they give off a fierce amount of heat. Like definitely has that kind of vibe. Nobody can have a favorite whiskey. It depends on season and mood. 100% agree with that, Frank. Yeah, that's 100% right. I'm on Talisker, smoky, peaty, salty. That says Reverend Kevin Wright. We've got the Skye is number one. Talisker ditto. Talisker smells like the start of autumn. Wood burners fired up for the first time in months, filling the air with hints of wood smoke. A lovely dram. Well said, Carol. I like peaty, smoky whiskey. This one, as it transports me into simple crofter's cottage on the island, filled with smoke from the peat fire. I'm in heaven. Talisker is one of those drams for me. Excuse me. No matter where I am, when I drink it, it feels like home. Comfort in a glass. Bonfire night on the beach. Kirsty says, take you to the pin in, Luke. Just let me know when. 100%, Kirsty, up for that. Iceland's great, but their whiskey is pants. I definitely agree with that as well. David says, yeah, I think they're like above the international timber line. I think it struggles to age up there. I haven't actually tried them, but the aforementioned friend has reported back that it's not great. Love the mossy notes on the nose. Mossy notes is a great taste note, actually. So tell us more about the artist on this one.
So this is a Portuguese artist called Ricardo. I can't do the pronunciation justice and my terrible English accent.
It does look like a young Jose Mourinho, doesn't it?
Yeah, from behind, definitely.
Portugueser.
Right there. I adore it because I think it's very much like those old travel ads as well. It's very retro, nostalgic, but like big, beautiful colors and just a very limited color scheme as well. And the reason we have chosen a Portuguese artist is because we have done a trifecta of aging, of finishing on this. So they're all done in tandem, but it's 3 different types of port cask. We're looking at ruby, tawny, and white port in here as well. Which the reason it came about is because Stuart worked so much on Talisker. He knows portery inside and out. And according to him, and like I said, I trust him with everything now. He portery has the most man hours that go into like blending and making sure the maturation is correct.
Wow.
Purely because it's one of those ones which is port is one of the hardest ones to work with. I mean, apparently I don't get to work with port casks myself, but I think it's because of that, because of the idea of what we're going to get from port casks. I'm very certain that putting it in these 3 different finishes would create something quite interesting, unusual definitely, but really complementary towards Talisker. If you haven't had pottery before, I would really recommend it. It is that real beautiful balance of smoky and tannic juiciness as well. But I this is another non-age statement whiskey. I think it's delightful. I think it's so very good. I think we've taken I think we've done this distillery justice here, because for me it's like frazzles, like smoky bacon crisps, the weight of it, I told us it got fattiness from Mortlach, but I always get a beautiful meatiness from Tally as well, from the sulfur. I think I really like this dram, and I think it's a lot of people's favorites at the moment.
It's got that kind of vibe when you fire up your grill or your barbecue after a couple of days or a long time after you've cooked on it, and as it's heating up, you get the old oil and meat kind of sizzle, and the kind of that smell comes back.
I love that.
Yeah.
If anybody said, I don't know if anybody, well, I know you said about the Swedish candles, but it's very aromatic. It's almost piney, and I get I think my mind is playing slight tricks on it, but like slight peppermint oil towards the end. And I think it's just like a bit of like eucalyptus touch to that peat in it. I think I really like this one.
Yeah, no, I've actually been very impressed. I think this is definitely, I mean, I'm not saying last year's are bad, but this is definitely taken me in a lot more than last year in terms of the kind of the quality of them consistently across all of them. I think it's really interesting. And
I feel comfortable in saying I completely agree. I thought there was something which I was really impressed with last year. This one, this year I'm what's the phrase? All thriller, no filler. I think that they're all very carefully considered and trying to work out what we can get from each of them, and hitting up those different flavor profiles. You know, we're pulling in from different areas of what people like to drink and what people, want to drink as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. We've got some Frank Deese is very accessible for 59.7%.
Yes.
100%. This is the other thing, but none of these actually feel too much. We have a little jug of water there, and I haven't even thought about using it. So yeah, loving the Talisker. I agree with Luke. Last year's were good, but these are a level above. 100%. This is one of the nicest drums I've had a long time for me. This has it all. Yes, very typical Talisker, but turbocharged. Barbecue after a long day in the hills, curled up in a bothy. Texture is thick, says Carl, and this is the other thing that's been consistent with all of these so far, is that mouthfeel and texture has been incredibly present, and there it's definitely the when people often ask you about the why is this whiskey cheap and this one expensive, why should I go for not necessarily why are they this in terms of the production and price point, but what convince me why I should spend 60 instead of 50 quid or 60 instead of 30 quid. And for me, one of the things is the better whiskies and the ones that justify the price tag more, they add in extra elements in the tasting experience, like that texture, cheap blend's not going to give you the mouthfeel of this. It's incredible.
This makes it truly like three-dimensional. And I always say, we smell, we got the flavor on the palate, but how does it actually feel in our mouths? That brings everything together. That's a true tasting experience. And I think you're right. I mean, there's a reason I'm such a worm tub nerd, is because I think that it just does so much to the texture. But we've been tasting distilleries here that don't have anything to do with them. That's Singleton at Glendullan. Actually, now that I say it, I think they're like 16, 17 in the whole of Scotland, and Diageo is most of them.
Because Dalwhinnie as well, isn't it?
Dalwhinnie, yeah. I'm surprised we've got a few of them actually. Yeah, Glenkinchires. Glenelgan. Okay, you know what? There's a reason.
100%, yeah. No, but I agree with what you're saying.
I am such a massive fan of how it had the presence. Let's put it like that.
No, definitely. It's like the difference between watching Oppenheimer in the cinema and waiting for it to come on the streaming services.
I haven't watched it yet. Should I?
It's incredible film, but also the sound alone is just like it's an experience, in the theater. I don't know if anyone watching agrees, but
I went for Barbie instead. Sorry.
Well, I did both. Barbieheimer, they did Barbie on a Thursday and Oppenheimer on the Saturday. So yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm actually not sure which one was more depressing, but anyway, that's a different.
God, that's so true. I can imagine that.
I enjoyed both of them. I thought they're both great films. But yeah, they
different kind of fish.
Exactly. The Andrew says, wow, Lagavulin is the big boy in the room, so intense, big bold. So he's powering ahead. Fair play, Andrew. We'll catch up with you in a second. Ian says, thanks folks, but need to leave the session. Good night, very informative. Favorite of the night was Mortlach. Carl says, visual feast. The audio is phenomenal, and that's Oppenheimer, I presume, not our lapel mics. No. Amazing soundtrack. Barbie is also great. LOL. Retro hail, cigar lovers. Anyone brings smoky bacon? 100% smoky bacon. Yeah. It's great. This is very true. We are about an hour in, so maybe it is the time that we come on to the Lagavulin. We can always come. If you're not finished, you could always come back to the Talisker. I'm actually going to take a sip of water to cleanse my palate after that as well. that one is, the finish on that is incredible, actually.
Yeah, I am. Like I said, I'm very I feel it always feels really disingenuous when I say it. Like I'm really impressed by it, but I have to talk about all these when they come out every year,
and it's a lot easier when they're good. Like,
oh my god, so much so. But it makes a difference, as I don't put so much effort behind the ones. I don't usually talk about them. That's genuinely it.
If this recording ever pops up, you're definitely not going to be get the higher security pass.
Very true. But I would rather be truthful and honest, if nothing else. Yes, I would rather that. Would you like me to say any words about the other two that we haven't talked about as well?
Maybe we could start on this one for anyone who's who's caught on time. So we could do this, and then like I'm in no rush anyway. So once we have done this whiskey, we can then loop back on the brands that we haven't discussed yet, or the ones that we haven't discussed yet. So while we knows this, could you explain this another beautiful label?
Yes, a fantastic artist from northern Mexico in Chihuahua. His name is Raul Urias. I don't think I'm ever pronouncing it correctly, but Raul Urias, and really influenced by Mesoamerican culture, Aztecs, Mayans, all of that beautiful artwork. And God, I'm going to try and get this closer. You can see, I think it's in one, obviously all of these have been really vibrant and dramatic in their colors, but he's very influenced by the local flora and fauna of the area, which you can tell by those big bright greens, but there's some beautiful flora and fauna there on the artwork. All of these geometric patterns and styles throughout. And for me, like, it took me a while to realize there was this just beautiful plume of smoke around the outside as well, but it really does convey everything that we all have in this dram, and I hope you agree. For me, this is that real beautiful billowing waft of Lagavulin that you expect, but all of this bright green flavor. This is so herbaceous. It's just so many layers and levels, and I always feel cast like last year's 12-year-old that felt quite herbaceous to me anyway, but this is dialed up a notch.
It almost doesn't taste like Lagavulin.
But this one has been finished in Don Julio Añejo casks, and yeah, I think the agave spirit really does pull those flavors through. I always get like weird root vegetables whenever I'm tasting like really young agave, and I kind of get some of those in there. But it's also like it's almost like the best, you know, the really good white chocolate that has the vanilla beans and seeds in it, and you're like, I'm gonna treat it like a green and blacks, that sort of stuff. There's real creaminess to it as well.
I totally see that, and yeah, you're right. The vegetable notes as well. It's really interesting. It really does kind of capture. It's almost like a mezcal. I know it's not. You said the Don Julio isn't the mezcal, but the mixture of those agave notes with the smoke. Yeah, and the kind of vegetable notes, it's really...
We have had that feedback, like if you gave this to somebody and didn't tell them what it was, you could quite easily say.
Well, in a blind tasting, I would not say this is Lagavulin. For me, Lagavulin always has that kind of charcoaly, kind of oiliness to the smoke, not even both in terms of texture, but also in terms of like this abstract flavor kind of inside it. But it just it's not as obvious, not as present, like, you know. No, it's interesting.
Over the past year, from doing last year's special releases, because I was put on the smoky ones all the time, so I drank so much of that Lagavulin, and then finally visiting the distillery back in August this year, I've gone for I always loved it, but I've become even more just like totally I'm just there for this distillery and there for this dram.
100%. Some great notes coming in. Frankly, this is Lagavulin, but with a bit more fruit and less cold fire. I think the agave finish mutes the nose, but the palate is sweet smoke. You can't beat a Lagavulin, King of Kings, smoked salt with fresh fruit, agave syrup, really smooth, vegetable but spicy too. Fresh fruit and herbs with sweet smoke on the nose. Can we appreciate the Lagavulin legs? I've coated the glass and they just aren't moving. Color impresses me. I like the kind of strawness of it. It speaks au natural. No, I totally agree. It's like almost like a cathedral. Like something, you know, what's the Gaudi one in
from Sagrada Familia.
Sagrada Familia. Yeah. Cool. There you go. Cultured reference there. Tick that box.
Nice.
The Lagavulin is surprisingly subtle on the nose, not the medical knockout of some Lagavulins. However, the smooth, smoky palate is fantastic. We've got, and then David's retro hail cigar lovers. So yeah, earthy, creamy, smoky, oily, sweet, sharp at the same time. James Lucas taking the words out of my mouth. Blind tasting, I wouldn't have thought this was Laga. Kirsty says, just tasting the Lagavulin, it's definitely Lagavulin. I'm perfect. As far as I'm concerned, it beats the other four by a million miles. Really smoky, has a complex fruity smoke spice, smoky, spicy flavors, reminiscent of ginger nuts, dunked in Lapsang Souchon. There you go. Which is where the unexpected sweetness comes in. For a youngster, it's a pretty good Lagavulin. I wouldn't give Lagavulin to youngsters, but I'll take your word for it, Kirsty. Though it's not the 16-year-old, but as I don't think the 16-year-old is beatable, nothing is. Brilliant. This is that's a fantastic taste note in common, Kirsty. Thank you. David McNeese's nose is like a Lagavulin, but doesn't taste like it. Do we have a price on this one and a discount code, please? And that is a good point to make. I will just confirm the price there, and then we will.
We have had a Lagavulin 12-year-old in every special release apart from the first ever one.
Really?
So we started in 2001 with Talisker, a literal lonely Talisker, which was only like 100 bottles that you bought out of odd bins that sold out within hours. But from 2002, we've always had a Lagavulin 12.
Ah, interesting. That's good to know. Brilliant. The Lagavulin is £155. Incredible value, I think, for such a unique dram. The discount code is WS16SR23. So a bit longer than usual, but I was getting creative. I will put that in the chat now, if I can find my mouse. And that will give you 15% off all of these, and any purchase enters you in with a chance to purchase the Roseisle. So brilliant. So this is the point where, I mean, Tony's got in ahead of me there saying Lagavulin wins, but this is the point where we want to hear people's preferences, any extra questions you have, and while you're typing them in, do you want to run through the we've discussed the Roseisle. Yep. We've tried these 5, so there's 2 that are not with us today. So Clynelish is one of them.
Clynelish is one of them,
and the other one is
the Glenkinchie. So Glenkinchie 27-year-old, the oldest Glenkinchie we've ever released. It's also pretty high at 58% ABV. And I alluded to the idea of very cold warehouses at Glenkinchie, and that is just a factor of it. It ages slowly, very rich, but the angels are very lenient with the share that they take because of it. And it's a really lovely story that Stuart's very much linked with this whole range, is that he still has his handwritten notes from when he first started and was trying this cask out back in, it was over 10 years ago now. So he identified it as something like, I want to see what happens to this in more. I want to give it more time. I want to see how it works out. And that he, very marvelous mind, comes back to it and like, I think this is the perfect time to show it off. And, saying it could last to 28, it could last 29 or 30, but that it was giving everything you wanted in that right then. Fantastic. And we call it the floral treasure because of it. Glenkinchie is this big floral masterpiece, and so it gives us all of that. I mean, like a touch of purple flowers. I don't want to say violets because everybody doesn't like this, but like it gives us a load of orange blossom as well. It is super floral on the nose. It is juicy and it is very thick as well. You know how it's really grown well with age. It does feel all of those 27 years and more, but with a little peppery balance that genuine for me, that's the one that I would like to add water to. Despite its age. I think it's a very good whiskey, and I really like seeing Glenkinchie at that age as well. Not that I don't love our standard release, it's just very nice to see how it matures. And then our Clynelish. Our Clynelish is a 10-year-old, and it's been matured wholly in ex-bourbon casks. And I make the point of ex-bourbons because when generally within Diageo, we reserve our ex-bourbon, our first fill, for our grain, just to give it that extra hit of sweetness and aging. And so generally we will be aging and for all of these in refill bourbon casks, so definitely second or third fill here. So it makes a difference when we say we're using ex-bourbon. It makes a difference for us. And for me, Clynelish just works so well in first fill. I was lucky enough to go up to the distillery earlier this year, and I always say that I felt that Glenkinchie is that path that was almost lined with gold. You have the gorse on one side and you have the beautiful beaches on the other, and it's a very golden liquid for me. Big red waxy apples, super tropical when you get into it. And this was based on the idea of one of the most recent distillery exclusives, which is just super tropical. And it is super tropical and punchy. And I know I didn't say I had any favorites, but I'm so sorry, the Clynelish is it. Cask strength Clynelish, and oh my goodness, pineapple. Oh, it's ridiculous. Yeah.
No, it's we actually very nearly had the Clynelish on this tasting. But I think there was
a good thing you didn't, because I would have just spent the whole thing. No, I don't.
Yeah, well, there was of the 8, some of the stock arrived earlier than the rest, and there was a logistics call where we had to go with. I think it was the Oban went on instead, so that we could get the pack out to everyone in time. But yeah, so it's a shame. Oh no, it's not a shame, because the Oban is lovely as well. But I was looking. I know a lot of people here are. I think James and a few others who regularly join these tastings. Clynelish is a popular one.
I'm sorry, I know you're going to read the beautiful comments, but we only ever really get 14-year-old from us, and I always want to see more of it. It's such a good distillery, and it at cask strength as well. It's just so chewy and juicy. It's so very present, and it has blown me away, genuinely. So please go ahead.
No, brilliant. So let's see where we have. Where the preferences are tonight.
Okay, yeah.
So we'll scroll back up. So Angela's got a great question for Port Ellen. We'll come back to that in a second.
Cool. And I see one about Glenkinchie as well.
Yeah. So the discount code again, anyway, for anyone who missed it, I have it in there. It's WS16 or SR23. We got Ian says 4, which is Talisker. Then we got the Lagavulin, says Kyle. Talisker for Andrew. Lagavulin says Steve. 5 is the Lagavulin as well. Laga, Talisker, Laga, Singleton, Laga, Talisker, Laga, Talisker. I think it's probably there's a couple more Taliskers there. Mortlach, Talisker. It's probably Laga edges it just ahead of Talisker, but the last 2 have clearly been the favourites so far. I know there's a couple of Singletons in there. But yeah, no, that's interesting. Any thoughts on those as the preference? Are you surprised by that, or?
Oh, not particularly. But then, I always feel that anything you start on is always going to suffer because you need to warm up a little bit. But at the same time, I think they're stunning drams.
Yeah,
they're really good. And these are 2 distilleries that everybody knows and loves anyway.
Yeah. There's a confirmation, confirmation bias, not the right word, but the people have their own. And not just on this lineup, but when you know a brand, you have come in with your own preconceptions. Yeah. But yeah, so. No, but I think actually probably, I don't know. It is difficult when you're holding the last one in your hand not to go for it.
Exactly, and you're nursing it. You're like, God, that's really, and you can still taste it.
I think I would go for the Oban though.
I love that.
Yeah,
it is big and fruity, and I love that. It gives you so much.
But it's but no, they're all fantastic. We've got Andrew's question there about was it Andrea? Sorry, I've got the comment in front of me, but. About Port Ellen anyway. Angela, sorry, not Andrea. Sorry, apologies. How's Port Ellen going? So do you want an update on that?
Yes, of course. So, I have literally nothing official to say because
for those who don't know, Port Ellen is a distillery that Diageo are opening on Islay. So yeah, it
is indeed closed back in 1983. So crumbs well into the ghost period now. I was very, if you get to go to Islay, you can walk down and just see the distillery. You can walk through, and you've got distillery on the right. You're coming from the beach, you've got distillery on the right, and you've got the warehouses on your left, because it's just a main road. Well, main road is as main as you can get on Islay. When I was there, the stills were already in. It was looking beautiful. You try and peek into the warehouses, you're not going to get anywhere near there. And as far as I understand, that they are on track to go on stream next year, which will be exciting.
Yeah.
Because I also know that they want to be part of the Facial next year as well.
Oh, that's an ambitious timeline.
It is really ambitious, and I think it's really there's so much talk about what can be shown, because because it's the same with Brora. If those of you don't know, Brora is now open. Well, it is now back on stream as well, and we're producing liquid there. But it is still very much because of the caliber of liquid and the status that Brora has. It costs a lot to get it. And I think a lot of it's going to be the same like that for Port Ellen, that they're going to put it as such a prestige malt that it will price a lot of people out, unfortunately. I mean, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to go there. They're not important enough, definitely. But what is brilliant is that they will definitely open for fish, because it's part of the history and culture of Ireland. And if you're not doing that, then you've lost what it means to be an Islay distillery, right?
100%, yeah.
Can I tell you my favorite Port Ellen story?
Yeah.
So do you know of Pinky? Do you know of
I know Pinky, yeah, Lagavulin, yeah.
Hi, Ian MacArthur. Please do go to Lagavulin before November, because Pinky's retiring.
He told me, I was there April last year, and he told me he was retiring last November. So
I think he's actually sent in the paperwork now, but who bloody well knows? He is the most genuine person I think I've ever met, because I don't think he no, I'm not going to say what I'm going to say, but I think he's just the most lovely human as well. And he's shorter than me, and he has the most lovely smile. But he's been with Diageo for 40 years at Lagavulin. But he was at Port Ellen for 13 years prior to that. So I think that's probably the longest we've ever seen in the company. But he tells stories about how at the end of Port Ellen, because they knew they were going to close down, they were running everything a bit dry. And it was that choice on Islay of which one to close down. A bit like Glenkinchie and Rosebank, which one do you close down? All of the distillery managers on Islay keep giving the new distillery manager at Port Ellen shit, because they're like, Port Ellen was crap anyway at 12 years old, blah, blah, blah. And that's why it was closed down. But they were saying about, Pinky was saying about at the end, they were so goddamn bored that they drew a square in the yard out front in chalk and do bare knuckle fighting in it, just to have something to do. And I asked them like, how did you fare? Did you how are you? It's like, oh no, I'm always a ref. Which I think is such fantastic.
I can't imagine him. He's quite he's not the tallest.
He isn't the tallest.
So I think his reach wouldn't be.
No, I think he's a very gentle creature, but also he doesn't drink at all.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Which, working at Lagavulin. It is a treat.
I suppose that's how you last 40 years, maybe. That's the secret.
It's what is it? It's like osmosis, it just seeps into the skin as well when you're around that sort of in that warehouse all day.
No, 100%. No, that's brilliant.
He's a character.
Well, fantastic. We'll see if there's anything else popped in the chat there. James said I need to head off, but thank you both for a great night. Living this in person tasting. I suppose I hope you meant loving. Maybe you meant living, I don't know. But my order for the night, Oban, Mortlach, Laga, Talisker, Glendullan.
Nice.
Thank you for another great evening. And we've got Mortlach first for me, says Frank. When they upped the standard Glenkinchie's age several years, or maybe a decade or two, it made a huge difference for Glenkinchie age matters.
I really believe that. So it went from a 10 to a 12 within the classic malt range. That's what they're talking about there. I get it. And somebody was asking about for a lowland whiskey, is it too light? I stopped looking at whiskey in regions, and I do think it is on the lighter side because it's very floral, but it's quite malty at the backbone and still gives us a good amount of fruitiness. For me, what is the best bit about it is that with that age, it condenses down. It's almost like putting a pot on to boil and you're just simmering and stewing all those flavors together, and it gets, even when it's 58%, it's still condensed down into something that's really quite juicy and rich. You're dialing up the notch on all those flavors, and they're becoming more and more 3D, right? That's
a good analogy. The Ryan said, does Diageo have much influence on the distilleries themselves? So I suppose he says about times, age statements, strength marketing. I suppose it's a question as to how centralized the output is across these distilleries.
No, it's a really good question. So with regards to what Diageo does, yes and no. I mean, it's great for the fact that we have our own coppersmiths, Abercrombie's, that produces and has streamlined everything to do with our stills, which is fantastic. So it means that instead of it taking 3 months to change a part of a still out, it can take 24 hours, which is a really great part. And it's that idea of streamlining processes sometimes seem that they can be a bit bad, but actually in this case are very good. We have put all of our, I never know the proper word, putting into the barrel, whatever that word is supposed to be. I always want, it's not of the still, whatever that word is. We put everything into the barrel now at 63.5%.
Like casking, cast strength, or yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know what that word there is.
Casking, no? Or...
Gorging? Because you have
But
disgorging.
you disgorging, would it be gorging? I would have just said casking.
Okay, casking. Okay.
Or maybe I'd say it's right, but
I'm gonna take a look. Well, we cask it all at 63.5%.
That's why they call it cast strength, because the still strength, which is the ABV comes off the still, and the ABV goes into cask.
Okay.
And then bottle strength ABV, it's disgorged that. So
okay, I'll take that. I'll run with it. I got introduced to a word called grogging.
Grogging. It's like my head in the morning or tomorrow after too many of these, but
it will be tomorrow after these.
Yeah.
I'm going to do another event tomorrow. Goodness.
So what is grogging? So I have no idea.
I just realized I've forgotten exactly. I think it actually might be putting it into barrels. You know what?
Maybe that's the term.
That's it. Yeah.
Maybe someone's probably told us in the chat.
I would love it. Please, somebody say. I do.
Charlie, you have the best job in the world.
I do have a very good.
My first online tasting, definitely not my last. If anyone could believe me, it's cask filling.
I would, I'm happy. I felt like it needed to be like an adverb. I don't know. I felt like I was missing something there. But just going back to what Diageo, yes and no. A lot of what we are producing is down to the blending team. They are the ones who are keeping an eye on everything. They're the ones that are nosing everything. They're the ones. I've seen the cupboards of extra stuff they have. For example, I've been able to see the week by week samples from all of the Nick Offerman editions, because we're playing around with casks. We want to make sure that it's maturing how it should be, and we're going to pick it out at just the right time. So a lot of them, the marketing stuff will come with the idea of like, hey, do you want to link this up? But then what is actually chosen, what is actually produced, is produced by, we call them, their title is whiskey expert, these blenders, because they are whiskey experts. They're fantastic and they know so much about it, and they want to explore so much with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know it might seem like marketing spiel, but the latest Talisker 45-year-old, we did the really stupid, amazing thing of bringing 10 casks over to British Columbia, putting them outside, freezing temperatures for a week, and then helicoptering them back. Don't know how much that could cost. Crazy thing. But the idea of that this has already been tried and tested in a lab of what happens when we put a cask under these extreme temperatures. The ice, the water opens up, it expands, causing more cracks into the barrels. Hence, you can get the idea, you get more flavor from that finish. This has already been explored by these blenders, by these experts, because they want to produce such great, cool whiskey.
Mm.
Anyway, that's my
question. I think that answers the question. Yeah. So yes, it's quite centralized.
Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's brilliant.
Right.
No, I'm being facetious. No, that is.
I'm just like I said. I think the blenders have an amazing job, an amazing role to play, and at the end of the day, they are very much in love with the whiskey that they are producing.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Andrew said, "What a great evening to spend my birthday. What a great evening to spend my birthday. Now I just have to choose a whiskey to buy." Happy birthday, Andrew, says everyone else, and I would happy birthday, Andrew. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, we've got Carl says great tasting. Cheers all. Chris says, do you think it works like embalming, lager osmosis through the skin? I suppose that's on Pinky and his not drinking. But...
I actually do think you absorb something. You must do.
I mean, definitely. I know. Yeah, I suppose embalming reminds me more of like is that what they do with mummies and stuff, like, which is a kind of depressing thought with Pinky, but
it's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, he's aged like a fine Lagavulin. What was the discount code for the releases mentioned? Yeah, it's for all 5 of these. You'll get that discount code. We'll get 15% off them. Stephen says he's been retiring for 10 years. Did a tasting with him a fortnight ago. Legend, says Andrew. So we've got, if Mortlach was similar price to Lagavulin and Talisker, then right up there. Lagavulin for me is the most evocative, conjuring up the best images in my mind. Thanks everyone for company and good sessions. So I think that's brilliant. We've got a couple of new ones come in to see what they are, and then I don't know if it's the right time form for the question. What's the future hold for peaty whiskey with the climate conscious strangulation? You can skip this question if needs be. I won't take it personally. So it's a question we actually get a couple of times on these tastings, which is about with conservation and the climate, especially in Ireland now, they've massively restricted the cutting of turf to keep the carbon captured within those boglands. Do you think it's going to have an impact on peat output from Diageo?
I've asked for a lot of times for like, here, what is a company line on all of this? Because, you know, we have teams for this, and they just say like, just don't mention it, which is such a hard thing when you're just talking about whiskey every day. Come on. So I haven't actually been given any company line, but I understand that we will always be looking into new ways of working with peat so that it is better for the environment, whether that be we're not cutting any new peat fields, whether that we make sure that they are, oh God, I can't remember what the word was or how they did it. I'm so sorry. We're now 5 whiskeys in. What were we doing with it? It's essentially a bit like carbon capturing, but I can't quite remember what it is, so I'm gonna have to blur past that part. I don't think it's an issue for us at the moment. I think it's something that will be on everybody's mind, most definitely. And you know, I guess it should be. We shouldn't be just being free willying, just willy-nilly, that's what I was trying to say, putting a load of carbon into the air. But it's still a very big part of the identity of what Scotch whisky is. And that makes up such a big part of Scottish identity anyway, that you can't have one without the other, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I agree. But also, I think the of all the uses for peat, both historically and currently, I mean, it used to power literal, you know, electricity stations or whatever, like coal power did, or heating houses. The amount of peat used to heat an average house through an open fire, versus you could, what would go into a house fire in a day. I can't remember the exact translation, but you could heat an incredible amount of barley with that amount. So it's obviously, you know, burning peat is burning peat, but it's quite an efficient use of peat for the volume of peat that it takes to produce the volume of whiskey, like, you know.
100%. And because for those of you that have never seen peat on a fire, it's really bad at burning. It's so bad at burning that it smokes incredibly well. So you don't need that much of it. If you've ever been at a bonfire and you've been sat next to it and the wind blows the wrong way, you will still pick up that smell in your hair or in your clothes for the next day. Imagine what that's doing to peat. Like you said, you only need a little bit of it, really. I think you're quite right. Yeah.
So Carl says, all I want to know is, will there be peaty drams for years to come? Long live peat. Thank you for answering. There definitely will be, for even if they stopped it in the morning. I'm sure there's enough peated stock around for us to do it for at least a while.
Can you imagine everybody clamoring to buy that up?
Buy all the smoky whiskey.
That would be some 50.
Well, there's a guy I know in Ireland who's opening up. I don't know how much of this, but he's got these like mobile distilleries. So he's distilling at like several different locations. Some are fixed, some are not, but it's all peated whiskey from the local area that he's using in the local barley. It's a fascinating project. I don't know, it'll be a while before we see a release from it, but I imagine just the way they produce it's probably going to be quite expensive, but it's an interesting experiment.
I can imagine. I can understand the idea with Ireland, because you know it is used so frequently within the homes that I get it.
Well, not anymore, but yeah.
I know. No, such a shame. But
always very controversial. It's only recently been banned. So you can if you have a peat bog, you can cut turf for your own personal use, but you can't cut it to sell it anymore. Which changes the dynamic of it, because I think we mentioned this, like I grew up in households burning peat and stuff. The smell of peat reminds me of hugging my nana, that kind of thing. But driving home as well, when you visit family in England or go up the country, and as soon as you come over the Cork and Kerry mountains into Kerry, you just hit with it in the air, like,
really?
You know? And when you're living there, you don't notice it because it's there all the time. When you've been away and you come back and you're like, oh, I can smell the peat in the air. It's like, it's a huge part of that part of the world in the west of Ireland. So it's a change not having it around as much anymore. So Ryan says, my understanding is the whole whiskey industry is such a small fraction of peat use, which is basically what I was saying. So that's in the larger context, dead right. Reverend Tim writes, I think you mean carbon offsetting, which is when you were saying about carbon capturing, but maybe not. Maybe are you capturing from above the kilns?
Yep, you can. So that is it. You can capture above the kilns, a bit like I don't know if you've ever seen those massive filters above Jack Daniels when they make that charcoal.
No.
Charcoal. There's some online is just huge, probably almost the size of this like square footage of this.
I mean, that wouldn't matter to our people watching anyway. So
that's right.
You know, even if you're like the size of this room,
it's so big, and we're just a tiny little hut. They're massive. You can the filtering off of it and capturing smoke, but you can also capture, say, the carbon off of fermentation as well. Nick Neal are doing some wonderful things about that. I know I should be talking about my own distillery, but by capturing carbon dioxide coming off fermentation as well. It kind of helps loop back everything around, just bring the process a little closer to home.
Perfect. And I suppose I'll have a look at see what other questions there. But in the meantime, we're questioning about the non-Diageo whiskey from the Whiskey Show London.
Oh my goodness. Okay, right. Yep. This is it. They're gonna fire me for talking about so much non-Diageo whiskey. Goodness. So I really did like the Sterling, the peated one. The really good Balvenie 38, but. And I'm so sorry, team. It's because of people giving me bougie drams. It was the Craigellachie 37. Actually, that's really bad because Craigellachie 37 would have been Diageo stock. That's really bad.
Yeah, that's not.
Oh, I'm so sorry. No, I promise you, I didn't mean that. It was really good. It was really tropical and delightful. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm always a sucker for Martin 36-year-old. It's delightful. I'm so sorry. I know that's yeah, it's massively gone up in price, but it's stupidly fruity and delightful.
What about brands? Any brands you tried that you hadn't tried before at all? Any distilleries that were new to you?
Actually, I tried the new Thompson blend, which was fantastic. God, I'm so sorry. That's got Clymation in it. I'm so sorry, but I thought I promise you, I'm not meaning to do this. They also did a fantastic Blair. Nope, can't do that one. Sorry. I'm not even trying to do this. Anything
Jack says you might need to speak more into this. I think we're struggling to hear your answers.
Okay, well, I've just.
I think it's less your where location. I think it's more that you were mumbling about the.
No, I'm sorry. I keep talking about the Diageo distilleries without realizing it as well, because I think people keep feeding them to me like this is what we've done with it. Anything from Dornoch, I'm always so impressed with. I think they are super cool.
We got a question there on that line because the Herrock, which is the new the Isla Harris inaugural release. You haven't tried that yet?
No, I haven't.
No, I haven't tried it yet either. There's actually a couple of bottles sealed in this room somewhere over there, which I can't open tonight, unfortunately. But yeah, it's one I've actually bought a bottle, like you were saying, buying first releases. So looking forward to trying it. So if anyone else on here has tried it, do let us know. Ian says my bottle arrived on Saturday. Love it. Very different. So that's good. Ian says when will the whiskey shop get stock in? We've had stock. It's been on sale since last week. Most of it should be dispatched. Well, Ian says sold out. I think it was a bit longer than 5 hours sell out with us, but yeah, because it was on pre-order, so I think it took a couple of days to sell out. But yeah, it is gone. But I think there is more coming in, as far as I'm aware. Which probably something to watch for. What day is today? Tuesday. I think Thursday. Maybe keep an eye on the website on Thursday if you're looking to pick up a bottle of that.
That's exactly.
So brilliant. Jack, it's funny. It's been all clear all night until it's not Diageo.
You know what? Maybe it's a sign.
Brilliant. And on the hair actually is amazing, but not unfortunately half full now. Brilliant. Well, I think that's a good place to stop. Well, thank you everyone for joining us and for staying on for this long. And thank you for joining us in person, Charlotte. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully we can do it again, either virtually or in person. But it's good. It's our first one. Well, definitely our first one of these kind of digital drams where both of us have been in the same room. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
You're gonna get Sally.
We've got.
Cheers to you.
So thanks for joining us, and we've also, and best of luck with the rest of the special release launches. For anyone else watching, we've got Nika tasting, which is on sale at the moment. That's on in 2 weeks' time on the 18th. So yeah, pick up a pack of that if you haven't. And yeah, we've got another one hopefully going on sale probably Monday next week. We'll see. It depends on bottling times, but there'll be a lot of these digital drams from the Nika up till Christmas. There'll be a lot of them, so keep an eye. And if this is your first time joining, which I know a couple of people have said in the chat it was, do consider joining us again. We actually have to pick. So we've actually not that many questions, but
true. But
I'm going to go out there and say that Kirsty Ashworth, her consistency of tasting notes for each one was so high. I think that's definitely one potential one for one of the bottle giveaways. Have you any other thoughts on anything that stood out for a bottle prize?
Oh no, I really enjoyed all of Kirsty's questions, all of her tasting notes. They're really thoughtful and really explored everything. What did I really like? I enjoyed the did I enjoy that? There were so many things. I can't remember even what we've seen beforehand. The comments on Thank You were delightful to see.
Do you know what? There is. We'll definitely go. We can pick a couple of tasting notes, but I can pull the transcript of this and we can maybe go over it between now and the recording going up tomorrow and pulls, because there's some great ones there. From Kirsty Smith as well. That was an excellent
that was good
tasting note. So that's potentially one of them. So yeah, we can go back over the transcript and we'll pull out a few and post them up who's won what, and we'll also go through the ones online and we can put up a wee note as to who got sent a bottle, just for transparency purposes, because normally we say on the night, but yeah, they're all here to be given away anyway. So you know, if you think, you know, if there's a Hail Mary one that you want to get in last minute and you don't mind us sharing it on social media, you can always email it in on the tasting link and we can maybe put it out there. Other than that, we'll go back through it. But thank you everyone for joining us, and for anyone who skipped the Champions League for it. I've been kind of
have you been just like?
No, I haven't been looking, because this has been far too good a tasting. I mean, it's on film. You can see me, because this is genuine. And another tasting, maybe at home I might have kept an eye, but I haven't. So I'm looking forward when this finishes to see what's happened. But folks, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again on the next tasting.
Thank you so much. It's been fantastic, my friend.
No, it's been really good to have it in person. It was a bit, getting used to it at the start, but once we got going, I think it was good. There we go. See you, folks.